and welcome everyone. I'm Titonian Wallace Senior. I'm the owner of Nasace Media and one of the founders of the Washington County Chamber's Black Advisory Business Council. And I'm on the board of the Washington County Chamber as well. And I would like to thank you all for joining us today for this discussion. I hope you've had an opportunity to see some of the ways that the Chamber and the Black Advisory Business Council have been celebrating Black History Month through our social media this month. I'm sorry, I think I heard someone. And can someone mute whoever that was? Okay, sorry. All right, and so this conversation today is a part of that celebration for Black History Month, and we're delighted to have three great Black professionals here with us today participating in our Black Excellence panel discussion. We do have time reserved at the end of the discussion for our attendees to ask questions of our panel. If you can't hold it till then, or you think you won't remember it that long, feel free to put that question into the chat box or save it until the end of the panel discussion, and we'll get those presented to our panelists today for you. And I would also like to ask that each of you remain on mute unless you are asking a question during that time. So to get started, I would like to introduce, I'm the moderator. I'd like to introduce my co-moderator today, Brian Watson. Brian is the Director of Special Events, as well as the staff liaison to the Black Advisory Business Council for the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. Brian, if you can go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself to everyone and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Brian Watson, and I am like Titonian just said, I'm the brand new Director for Events here at the Chamber of Commerce. Happy to be here. And you know, one of the first things I was tasked with was this council and putting intention on Black businesses here in Washington County. And that's what we have been doing for the last 16 days. We've been busy highlighting businesses, highlighting civic leaders and community leaders. We're just happy to celebrate Black excellence.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, you know, I'm happy that Brian has come on board. He's been a tremendous help with everything that the Black Advisory Business Council has been doing since January. So Deanna, you did good by getting this guy on board. And yeah, welcome, Brian. And feel free at any time, any of you, to reach out to Brian. He's at the Chamber, so you can definitely get in contact with him. All right, so we're ready to get started with this panel discussion. And first, we want you to have an opportunity to get to know our panel members. And I'd like to start first with Jelana. Jelana, would you like to go first and tell us a little bit about your business and how you got started baking?
Hello, thank you. First, Titonian, Deanna, Brian, thank you for having me here. I'm Jelana Canfield, the owner and executive pastry chef of Jelana's Bake Shop, a flavor-focused online bakery here in Hillsborough, and a member of the Washington Chambers of Commerce. We focus on flavor, but also providing different dietary preferences, traditional, vegan, gluten-free, and non-glycemic using monk fruit. I always say I started in baking, not necessarily as a passion since childhood. When I was a kid, I wanted an easy bake oven. And when I asked my mom, she pointed to the real oven and said, there's your easy bake oven, go for it. So I actually went to college and got a degree in theater arts and performance in dance and theater. While being an artist, my side hustle was working in restaurants. And that passion for culinary arts with pastry, wine, and food kind of dominated, especially when I was living in Hawaii. And then when we moved out here, I started a bakery out of my house part-time. And then during COVID, I went full-time. And now we're a full-on e-commerce bakery. You can order online, and we're about to move into a shop. So that's
wow.
Thanks. So that's how we all got started, hi Cindy. That's how we got started. And now it's a family business. My husband helps with operations, including our sons. So, and the Hillsborough community has been big supporters and champions of this. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that Jelana is also a member of the Black Advisory Business Council now, so thank you very much. And Brian, do you want to continue with the
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Samuel, thank you for participating. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us what you do, a little bit about yourself and some of your background?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you for everyone for allowing me to have the opportunity to meet with you and share a little bit about my story and journey. What I do is I am the Director of Performance Excellence for Legacy Health. And basically what that means is that I help our organization solve complex business problems. So, and that can be in clinical, administrative, or operational areas. I've been at Legacy for almost 6 years, but I've been in process improvement, both as a lean practitioner and as a Six Sigma Black Belt, mostly for Fortune 500 companies for about 30 years. I would say for those that probably may not be familiar with Lean or Six Sigma, essentially what we do is to try to teach people how to solve problems through the lens of process improvement and people development.
That's awesome.
Do you want me to add more?
No,
oh, no, sorry.
No, you're fine.
You're good. I lost my unmute button. Oh, yeah, there's too many screens going on at the same time. But yeah, thank you both for that brief introduction about who you are and what you do. We should be expecting another panelist, but until then, we'll continue to move forward. So the next question for discussion for our panel today is to tell us about the biggest professional challenge you have faced and how you responded. And this time we'll start with you, Samuel.
Wow, that's a very, very interesting question. Biggest professional challenge. I would say it's probably being the only. I'm probably one of maybe 4 African-American executive leaders at Legacy, which it's about 15,000 employees. And I would say that's been true most of my career. I would say that the challenge with not just being only, but you're trying to provide guidance and perspective and mentorship for people that want to navigate a path while you're trying to navigate your own. And so you have that moments of where you're unsure about how to navigate your own path, but yet people are coming to you and asking for advice, and you want to be really thoughtful and intentional about the guidance that you provide. That's the really kind of the difficult part. I'd say as a kind of 1A and 1B is really being mindful of why you're here. Why am I at Legacy specifically? I came to Legacy to change health outcomes for BIPOC populations, period. It's the only reason I'm at Legacy. And so trying to keep that as a North Star, as a guiding star in light of everything else that happens in your work and professional life is probably the biggest challenge that I can think at the moment.
Well, let me add a little something else to that. So that's your biggest professional challenge, but how did you get started in your profession?
Yeah, great question. So oddly enough, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Probably hear a bit of a Southern accent. So born and raised there. Toyota Motor Manufacturing. happened to build their first plant outside of Toyota City in Japan at Georgetown, Kentucky. And so I got started working on the line, making cars. And then I learned the process or the approach around process improvement and people development through Toyota. And that's really kind of how I got started in this career field.
Awesome, thank you. And Jelana, we'll pose that same question to you. What has been your biggest professional challenge and how have you faced it?
My biggest professional challenge has happened, I would say, a few times, but overall it's the same thing. Is I start pursuing a passion and then hit a major obstacle. The first one was as an actor and dancer, felt like I was moving my way up. I was working in Los Angeles in early 2007, and then there was a writer's strike. And I felt really confident. I was out of college and actually working in my industry. And as an artist, that's kind of a big deal. Like, oh, you're actually getting a paycheck to be an actor and a dancer. And there was a writer's strike and the industry literally shut down. I pursued different aspects, theater and things outside of the writers union. And then there was an actor strike, so it affected that union. So my husband, then boyfriend, got a transfer to Hawaii, and I thought, I'm not working, struggling, paying bills when I was making these leaps and bounds as an artist. We went to Hawaii, and I started working in the restaurant industry, first just to make money, but I was doing quite well. And I had another obstacle. I had a health issue. I was working at for Morimoto Maui, actually working under Iron Chef Morimoto. There was talk of me going to Asia and being promoted in the overall restaurant group that owns Morimoto, Star Restaurant Group. And my hip went out on me. I used to do long distance running, and that on top of working 12-hour shifts as a events manager for a fine dining restaurant, just was a hard mix, and being a mom and a wife at the same time. So we moved to Oregon because I was having some health issues. Surgeons in Hawaii weren't sure what was wrong with my hip. So we moved here. OHSU immediately knew what was wrong, and they handled it. It took a few surgeries, but I got better. So I had also had background in teaching. So I was like, I'm going to pursue a career in education. It was another passion of mine. And I was moving forward. I was actually working at Newberry Elementary, and then COVID happened. And I was one of the new hires. So I was one of the first laid off. So the pandemic took my next passion. And luckily I did already have our home kitchen license, because I did bake a lot through this whole journey. I used to sell pies when I was a struggling actor, sweet potato pies in LA. I did cakes and stuff for friends in Hawaii. And I just happened to get our kitchen license. And so when I got laid off from Hillsborough School District, I was like, okay, this is the one thing that's still around every time I have this major obstacle in my career endeavors. So maybe this is a sign to just go all in. So we took my last check and we went all in on building an e-commerce bakery. And third time's the charm, it seems to work. And
where is my freaking, why am I having problems with this?
Even though it was a struggle, it has taught me, each of these obstacles have taught me not to give up. And especially as I feel like as a Black woman, there are times, I'm not gonna lie, I felt sorry for myself. Like, why does this keep happening to me? But I think a mixture of, once I became a parent, you can't give up. It's not even an option anymore. And Two, I think about what my mother went through, my grandmother and my foremothers out of slavery. You think, okay, if they could handle what they went through, everything from slavery through Jim Crow, through segregation, I can handle this. And I took the skills that I've learned through all these different professions and realized these are all the skill sets you need to be a good business owner. And I applied it to being a bakery owner.
So you found from COVID, you were forced to pivot and make it basically a real life-changing decision at that time. Now, yeah. Do you feel because of it's, well, I can attest, you know, like probably several others here, that what you create, your baking is exceptional. So do you feel like this is now your calling? This is what you were supposed to do. This is what you're happy doing now.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like all those other obstacles, all those other professions made me stronger and more attuned to be a better baker and a business owner. I should have saw the signs, because even when I was the events manager, sometimes the general manager would have to pull me out of the pastry kitchen going, okay, you have an event in 10 minutes. Is everything set? I'm like, yeah, I'm just making sure that the dessert course is set. And like, okay, let's let the pastry chefs handle that. You need to come handle making sure everything else is set. So it was always kind of this underlining passion. It was always my go-to when I needed extra money. And it was something I felt true. I also felt like it was something I could carry on, a legacy that was handed down through my family. In fact, my sweet potato pie recipe was adapted from my mom, but it was really handed down from my great-grandmother. And it's funny, each generation we joke how we take less and less sugar and apply more of the flavor aspects and nuances, especially from my mom. She taught me a lot about how to focus on the flavor and not necessarily the sugar. However, she always reminded me the reason why probably your grandmother started adding more sugar is because during World War II, they couldn't get sugar. She remembers my grandmother having to use ration cards to get supplies during the war. So when the war was over, World War II, she remembers my grandmother starting to add more sugar because it was a sign of we've made it, like we don't have to ration so much. So I don't knock how American confection has started to become more dependency on sugar, because there was a stage where it was a sign that you have made it, you can afford it. But at the same time, it made an impact on our health. So my mom kind of pivoted back to focusing on the actual ingredients and not depending on the sugar as much, and cutting back and adding nuances like lemon juice, more sweet potato, cinnamon and nutmeg, and those kind of aspects. And which is funny because if you research the history of African-American cuisine, a lot of the dishes that came from Africa, from slave ships, a lot of it was based on the spices and not the sugar. Actually, sugar isn't used heavily in a lot of the African countries that we came from. So I like to bring that back into my recipes, and honestly, in everything I've done, whether it was dance, theater, my work in education. So.
Awesome.
What's your most popular item?
My most popular item, it's a tie between cinnamon rolls and cakes. I find cakes are the most popular among alternative dietary preferences because there isn't an abundance here in Hillsborough. So I actually brought on more gluten-free options and vegan options once I realized that a lot of our community members were going to Portland or Beaverton to get those aspects. And a lot of our community, especially the African-American community, are like, okay, what's going on with, vegan aspects and gluten-free aspects and how really healthy it is for us. So I want to bring that to our community more. And And cinnamon rolls is actually handed down from my grandmother. It was known for her cinnamon rolls. And when she would come visit, I'll be honest, I didn't get to make them with her a lot because I would just sit there and wait for them to just show up. And she would just, she wasn't big on having people in the kitchen with her. My great grandmother was all about sharing recipes, and my mother, but my grandmother, I don't know if it's because she had 7 kids. She didn't want kids in the kitchen with her. She's like, let me do my thing. So my mom joked that she learned a lot of her skills from my great grandmother. And and I got a lot of those skills from her, but those are the 2 popular, cinnamon rolls and cakes. Cookies are like, we hit hard for cookies for like a month, and then all of a sudden they'll slow down a little. So they're up there. They're like, when I say they're third, they're like really like right at that, like right behind cinnamon rolls and cakes. I think cakes are just a big deal because a lot of people who want cakes. I remember when Beaverton Bakery was here, well, not here in Hillsborough, but was around, and you could design your own cake. You picked your own flavor, your frosting, and your size. And when they closed a lot of the other bakeries, when you would go to, the cakes were already made. I'm not saying they're not exceptional. They're incredible cakes. We're really blessed with a plethora of great bakeries here in Hillsborough. And a lot of them have supported me. Shout out to Decadent Creations and Mindy, because she's been a big supporter of our bakery. However, I wanted to bring that aspect back where the customer gets to design their own cake. So, and we actually added the aspect of picking your own dietary preference. So you get to pick if it's traditional, gluten-free, vegan. And I actually allow people to do both if they have a gluten and need to be vegan. And then you get to pick your flavor, and then you get to pick your frosting, and of course your size. So I wanted that aspect where people felt like cakes are very sacred. They're for major events, holidays, birthdays. And, you know, there's something about knowing you can have a cake that's been created just for you, just for your special day, and not just a message on top. And I have to give a quick shout out now that Jovani is here. So during that time when when we first moved here, I was laid up with some hip issues when we first moved here. And Jovani, I followed a lot of your stories through articles, and the fact that you started in your house. I don't want to give away like your background, I'll let you tell you, but I just want to say you were a big inspiration to know that through my life obstacles, not to give up and to keep pursuing your dreams.
Well, that's an honor. That is such an
really
honor.
Was.
So
like,
that means a lot to me.
I don't want to give away too much.
You know, girl, let me tell you something. Sometimes you're on your balcony crying. What's a black man doing making crackers? You know what I'm saying? You have no idea. I just like, what am I doing? I gotta be a fool, you know.
Well, I think this is that's a great segue. Thank you, Jelana, for that. So we can actually bring in our other panelists now as well. So this is just an opportunity for you to learn a little bit about Jovani. So Jovani, the first question that we posed to the panelists is, tell us a little bit about you, your business, and how you got started for those that don't know you here.
You want to say hi? Come here. This is my daughter, Layla. You want to say hi? So she wanted to say hi, apparently.
Oh, hi.
You say hi, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
So basically how I got started was, honestly, okay, let's just break it down. I got tired of being the last to be hired and the first to be fired. And people will ask me, like, I just came back from the fancy food show, and I'd have some guys sitting up against me, or all these white people, and they're asking me, why'd you start? And I think to myself, should I tell them the truth? You know, or should I lie? You know, I think, should I lie or tell them the truth? I said, forget it. I'm just going to tell them the truth. This is the reason why I started the business. I got tired of being the last to be hired and the first to be fired. And what happened was I lost another job. These people did me really wrong. And I thought to myself, you know what, in order for me to be able to provide for my babies and my family and have a life, I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to do it myself. I'm going to have to find something that no one can take away from me. So I said, I'm gonna start a business, right? I'm starting. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I could be shoveling mud or something. I don't know. But one thing I was a hardcore foodie and I loved to cook. And but I didn't see that. So then my wife turned around. My wife said one day, she goes, are you doing, you should just start a food business. All you do is talk about food. She probably got sick and tired of hearing me talk about food when she said it. So I was like, yeah, you're right. Dang, I should make food, right? And then my mom made these amazing crackers, and we were driving back to Oakland. We were living in Oakland at that time. Driving back to Oakland, California, and we're eating them, and couldn't stop eating. My wife said, you should make these crackers. That really was the birth of the Cracker King, and that's kind of how the whole thing really, really happened. And then when I moved, my wife was recruited to Nike, by Nike, and that's how we ended up in Portland. And then when we got here, I took care of the kids during the day. 3 kids were really young. 2 were twins, or 2 and 3-year-olds. And then in the afternoon, I would go to a shared kitchen. I'd make crackers. And then at night, I'd drive Lyft and Uber all night long. And that's how I started the company. I mean, there were days, and then trying to do 5 to 6 farmers markets every day. There were points I couldn't even get off the couch. I was just so exhausted. So that's kind of how the whole thing happened. I mean, and I wanted to give up, but I didn't. I couldn't. At that point, I had too much skin in the game. And, the bottom line is this, is that I knew I had a good idea. I knew I had something. Jelena, like you, I'm pretty sure, you got something, right? But it's hard because so many doors close in your face. And as Black people, they close in your face over and over again. And what happened with me was that with the death of Joyce Floyd, it caused the birth of my company. And that's the most saddest thing that could have ever happened. The death of another Black man caused the birth and the success of my company. But I can't really say it caused a success, because what happened is that people started giving us the opportunity. They started trying the product. But we have done so much work up to that point that we were killing it, that when they tried it and they opened it up, we were ready for the success. Success isn't something that it's just overnight. It's not something that happens. It's something that you work for and you work for and you work for. And if you keep working, the doors will open. It's just, are you ready to walk through or not? You know what I'm saying? You could be the flavor of the month, or you could be something greater.
Very inspirational. Thank you. And we're going to catch Jovani up. So I'll ask the next question to you, and then we'll go back to Samuel as well. Mm-hmm. So the next question was, tell us about the biggest professional challenge you faced and how you responded.
Wow. I was I was looking over for a co-packer. I finally found a co-packer in Chicago, and I went out to Chicago, and we ended up spending like $40,000 to get everything going, right, on the line. And some billion dollar company, because of all this, supply and demand and labor shortage, right? Everybody's fighting for line space. So some billion dollar company came in and bought up the line and kicked all of us off. And I lost $40,000. I went back to it was a horrible experience. I remember I was in Chicago. I went back to my hotel room, and I just basically shut the drapes and sat in there for a whole day watching Squid Games. Squid Games, it just came out. That's what I did. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to see anybody. And but the way that I dealt with that, and all of a sudden I have Sprouts who are launching through nationwide, right? So as Sprouts are launching nationwide, we're on the hook for Sprouts all of a sudden get all this product out to Sprouts, and they pulled the rug out from under me. Mm. So I'm sitting to myself, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? But what I did is I pivoted. I had faith. I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going to find a co-packer. I'll find a co-packer this week. During the weekend, I'm flying. I'm gone. She goes, you're not going to find nobody. I said, no. I just had a feeling, no, I'm going to find somebody. I was determined. So I ended up just calling, and I hit a number of some guy that I'd never heard of before, and he happened to do gluten-free crackers. And he said, well, I'll send you out some stuff. I said, no. I'll be in the plane. I'll be there. Are you free Tuesday or Thursday? He said, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'm here. He goes, are you coming out? I said, yeah, I'll be there. I'm coming out. So I flew out, and everything changed. Now our co-packing is going smoothly and everything works, but it was a godsend. So I think my biggest challenge was not concentrating on the negative. See, the thing is with this, with everybody, you have to let it go in order to receive, right? We've all heard that, right? But we all know when you really let it go. When you let it go, you have that big sigh, your whole body just goes flat, and you're like, wow, that is gone, right? We have to do the same thing in business. This is the exact same thing, but you're going to go crazy. You're not going to survive. So for me to let that go and say, I know that money's gone. I got to go back to my investors. But before I go back to my investors, I have to find a positive that came out of this. So I let it go and I opened my arms, and the universe delivered. You know, God, the universe, Jah, whatever you want to call him, I'm spiritual, delivered. And it came, it just all happened in a weekend. So instead of sitting on my couch crying for the whole weekend, I'm like, you know, no, get up, dial, get going. It's going to happen. You know, it's going to happen. Make it happen. And I was blessed. So that was a huge positive recently that I dealt with a negative by being positive about the situation rather than being negative about the situation.
Awesome. I love that. I also have a degree of spirituality that I believe in, that some things are just meant to be, but you still have to put in the work. And that's a common theme here. Well, actually, you heard it from Jelana and Jovani, is that I can't fail now.
Oh, yeah. And that makes, I just want to say one more thing. That makes a true entrepreneur. If you know no one's going to stop you, and when people say no, what you do is you take that number. I don't know how many times y'all, Jelana and my brother Brian right there, my black man, my brother right there. You know what I'm saying, right? People are going to tell you no over and over again, and they're going to think you're stupid because you're black walking in the door. Over and over and over again, they're going to do that. But all you got to do is you got to smile. You got to look at them. You take that number and say, you're going to eat this. But you know what? And they're eating it now, right? But I got to say nothing. You ain't got to call them up or email. It's just your work shows.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's
exactly.
it. The best revenge is success.
Amen.
Awesome. I'm sorry I'm talking too much, man. You got me going.
Oh, you're fine. No, that's great to hear. And I think it's what people on this call need to hear today anyway. It's because you're going to help inspire other entrepreneurs that maybe they're on the fence and they're not sure. And sometimes you just have to get out and do it. You have to move. That's one of my big things, is when I feel in my spirit it's time to move on something, I don't let anyone else's no stop me from moving forward.
Thank you.
That's what you have to do. So thank you very much for that. And Samuel, I'm sorry, you have been sitting here for a while. So before we get to the question that we have online, I wanted you to come back on and tell people that may have come in late your position again. And then my question for you, being a part of Legacy Health, is how has this pandemic affected you and your position?
Okay. So I'm Samuel Ashby. I'm the Director of Performance Excellence for Legacy Health. Basically, as I said earlier, I help our organization solve complex business problems across clinical, operational, and administrative processes and systems. I've been with the organization for about 6 years, and my primary purpose for coming to Legacy was to change the health outcomes for BIPOC populations. In terms of the pandemic, I think I would say the biggest challenge to the organization is really adjusting on the fly and making decisions with external information, whether it be from the CDC, from the state, from school districts, and being nimble. That's been the challenge in healthcare during the pandemic, is that ability to be nimble. And as many of you have probably already heard, that there's quite a bit of a shortage in medical assistants, nurses, surgical techs. And so it's a really, really tough environment right now to provide really high quality patient care. When you don't necessarily have the proper amount of staff, or the staff that you do have is extremely overworked. And so, going now, I think we're coming up on 2 years, this is now no longer the new thing, it's the new normal. And so for us at Legacy, it's, as I said before, it's really trying to be adaptive, responsive, and more nimble to our patients and to our employees.
Now, on the personal, professional level, did you have any obstacles that you felt were trying to hinder you from reaching your current position, and how did you overcome those, or what did you do, or what did you go through?
During the pandemic, or just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah. Well, I would say my biggest professional accomplishment is not becoming what I was subjected to. So,
wow, I like that. Wow, that's good.
So as a person of color and navigating the corporate space, I believe Will and I overlapped at Nike for a period of time. It's difficult. You're already perceived. I remember coming into Nike as an organization and being constantly asked if I worked in basketball and Jordan, even though I was in operations as a process guy. But the assumption was, and Will's laughing because he knows, but the assumption was because if you were Black, that's where you were. And so, you know, I think you have to be able to compartmentalize the racism, the barriers that white supremacy and capitalism place in front of you. And you still have to be driven and focus on the mission, which is the advancement of my people. That is it. That is what I'm here for. That's what I'm about. I do this work. I can make a lot more money being somewhere else, but it is about the advancement of my people. And so, I have to always keep that as a focus point for me, because it's the thing that motivates me to get up in the morning and actually take on what I have to take on.
Sorry, I was on mute. Wow. Once again, very inspiring. I think Valia put in the chat, very inspiring. I think that was when we were listening to Jovani. But yeah, it's great that we get to hear these three different perspectives of, you know, driven people and the things that they've gone through to reach the level where they are, or life situations that help push them to make the decision to say, I need to do what's best for me and my family, and this dream or this drive or this profession that I'm pursuing, I'm going to give it my all, but I'm going to be me while I do it. So I think it's very inspiring from all three of our panelists today. So Brian, do you want me to?
Yeah, I have a quick follow-up question for Sam. Okay, so during the pandemic, we all call this the new norm. What are some of the things, what are some of the solutions that you've put in place that has positioned Legacy in a more, I don't know, that benefits the organization?
That's a good question. I would say it's probably being more responsive to the needs of our employees, particularly around where they want to work and how they want to work. We have options and will continue to explore options around hybrid work environments, which will allow the ability to be able to work from home or to be able to come into the office. There's changes relative to how we look at APL or PTO time off. But I think also too, some of the like employee assistant hotline that we've put in for really just for professional and psychological mental health, to be able to have practitioners and clinicians and employees of Legacy to be able to talk to someone as they struggle through what everyone struggles through, during this pandemic. I would say that there's a lot more work to do. As I said before, I think we have made a concerted effort to be more nimble, but that wasn't necessarily a core competency of the organization. So I would say that we're a work in progress.
Okay. All right, next question. Jovani, this one's for you to start out. All right. What are you most proud about through this journey?
Wow. Honestly, not giving up. Not giving up, man. There's so many times when, you have people, I mean, I wouldn't say that people hate, but people don't believe. You know what I mean? They don't see your vision. You go and you tell them what you're doing, they just don't see it. And that's the wrong person for you to invest time and energy into. But unfortunately, when you first start doing any project or anything, those are usually the people that are closest to you. And so you need that support. You do need that, but they just don't give it to you. They don't know how to give it to you. And they're actually gonna be pretty negative, and they can basically just crush your dreams. So what I had been through was, I had been through a lot of devastation. People didn't understand it. I'm not going to go into part of it because it was a really dark part of my life that was very, very hard. And, people would be like, why don't you just go out and get a regular job and this and that? And I'm like, well, I'm doing Lyft and Uber at night. I'm taking care of the kids during the day. Taking care now to all you beautiful women out there. Taking care of kids is that right there. I tell you, I got utmost respect for that now. That's harder than anything. That is hard because I did it. I was a stay-at-home dad. I did it. I was like a woman, So I get it. It was, there's so many times, my brother Brian, where it was like people would say to give up or people would be negative, and even friends were just like, you could just tell they're like, oh, he ain't gonna go nowhere. He's not gonna do nothing, because that's all they know. You see, and people don't want to see someone outside of them, close to them, make it because it makes them look at them. You see, all of a sudden they got to look at themselves. Oh, what am I? Why am I here? Why is this guy going like this? So they don't want to see you succeed. So the hardest thing to do is pull up your bootstraps, stick your chest out, wipe that tear from your eye, and go, I ain't giving up. I'm gonna do it, and nobody's gonna stop. So that's the proudest thing that I think. Going to where we're at right now, as far as being a national business now and really growing, I'm extremely proud that I just didn't throw in the towel. And I just want to say one thing that I hope it resonates with everyone, and that is this: you only lose if you give up.
Absolutely. How many outlets are you in now?
About 600. We'll be in 1,000 by next month.
Congratulations.
Over 1,000 stores by next month. Yeah, we're launching in Safeway Albertsons throughout the West Coast, launching in Kroger's. It's crazy. Yeah, by the end of the year, we'll probably be like around 2,000. Yeah, I mean, we went from zero to, but we didn't really go from zero to nothing. We were prepared. It's been a lot of work, and even to this day, the other day I was looking at. I'm so busy and going, this is crazy. And, you're growing, you're putting out fires all the time. You're putting out fire, doing this, doing that. It's crazy. And I remember I talked to my CFO and I stopped in the middle of everything and I said, this is how it's going to be, huh? Because I realized this is going to be my life for the next 5 to 6 years. I didn't want to admit it. I was like, damn. He stopped and he said, yeah, man, this is how it's going to be. I had to take a little breath and swallow it. All right, this is what's going to be. Let's go. I hope that answered your question, man. But
absolutely,
I appreciate you.
No, that's great. And Jelana, we'll pose the same question to you now. What's your greatest professional accomplishment or something you're most proud of?
Most proud of is carrying on a legacy through culinary arts of my family's heritage. I know even for my grandmother, like owning a business was unfathomable. She cooked and cleaned for other people, majority of her life, with 7 kids, and dealt with situations that are just horrific. And I think knowing that I didn't give up when there was so many times I could have. And I want to say, you know, thank you to Samuel, what you're doing, because even when I've hit great accomplishments, I remember when we lived in Hawaii, someone's like, thought the greatest thing I had done was being in management for a fine dining restaurant. And they said, has anyone who's like you done that here? And pretty much they're saying, has anyone Black been in that position? And middle management, I would say there were on island, because I was on Maui. We all kind of knew each other, and there were only 2 others. And fine dining events management, it's considered more higher management. And I would go to meetings where I was not only the only woman, definitely the only woman of color on an island that is predominantly people of color. And that was really sad in itself. It wasn't like there was not even other Polynesians there. There was just literally white men and me. And there were times when I would have customers, when I would work like we'd rotate shifts to work the floor as management. And I remember going to a table and I said, oh, how can I help you? They're like, oh, we're waiting to talk to the manager. And I'm like, well, I am the manager on the floor. Oh, well, is there a general manager here? I go, no, I'm the highest ranked manager on the floor tonight. So how can I resolve your issue? Are you having a nice meal? Or my favorite was, I would recommend a bottle of sake or wine to pair. And they're like, well, is there a wine director here? And I'm like, well, I remember once I wanted to do this move I saw in a movie where you turn around and you're like, oh, that's me. But I didn't want to be that obnoxious. But you have to just be resilient. I would get that a lot. And I remember one woman saying, once I checked in with them through the evening, I paired a really, nice wine with their meal. And at the end of the evening, she was like, this was incredible. And of course you're the manager. And she looked at me and she's like, and she apologized. She's like, I'm sorry for not seeing that immediately, because clearly you are. I always had to be the best dressed. I always had to just not one thing out of place. I knew the menu to the T. I could say things, don't ask me now, because it's been a while, but I knew most references in Japanese, since it was a Japanese restaurant. And I would hear other managers kind of say things, pronounce dishes incorrectly, or just misquote the menu. There was no way I could get away with things like that, or I would have been fired or taken off the floor. I did events that were $50,000, or more. And there was just no way I could make a mistake. Everyone was hovering. I've had grown-ups yell at me because something wasn't done, or, if you had a certain party that, party size that the gratuity was included. And they would yell at me thinking, and say very insulting things to me. I remember one family, clearly millionaires, if not more. And we served something that came with a black bean paste. And when he said repeated the dish, he's like, or should I say African-American paste? And I was like, no, it's named after the bean, not a human being. And I just left it at that and walked away.
You're
So
better than me.
I know. And those are the choices. There are moments where I would want to go off, but I'm like, I have a child at home.
Yeah, that's the problem with me. I got a big mouth like Brian here. That's
right?
me. I couldn't get a job because I'd open my mouth and say something before you know I'd be out in the street. But I'm telling the truth. But you know, and then somebody in the place, man, why'd you say something? Like you can't say. I have a big mouth. I couldn't handle it. I just gonna tell you the truth the way it is. So I get you, and I've been in that situation over and over again. And then they get mad when you speak up. People get mad. You're just telling the truth. This is not right. But it's a funny thing about it is we as Black people and also to you, I mean, to other women here that are not Black, that are also white, you guys go through the same thing. When you speak up, people just don't.
Absolutely.
They want to keep you in your box, and it's an outspoken person sometimes, especially in our situation with minorities or being a woman or whatever, is a hard situation to be in. It really is. So I really feel for what you said. Awesome what you said, though. Thank you.
Thank you. And my husband was a big champion of this business because there were times where I'm like, I knew what it took to run a food industry business. I knew the slim margins of success. Especially I did, P&L reports for this international food conglomerate company. And it's just, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't want to do it. And he championed, like, aren't you tired of working for other people? And you keep getting close to this level of success. And then a situation happens and you're in a position where somebody else's controls our financial destiny. And it wasn't that I just didn't want to say, yes, you're right, let's do this. It's, I think also when you are Black and the woman in the family, you're also thinking, yes, but I also know how hard this road we're about to go down is, because I've seen it just in management, let alone being the owner. I've walked into meetings where everyone's like waiting for somebody else. Who's this Jelana? And I'm like, that's me, I'm here. Literally, I've had to say that.
Yep, thank you,
That is
Jelana.
me.
Yeah, we want to go ahead and be respectful of everyone's time. So we keep the questions moving. So Brian, do you want to take the next question for our panelists?
Yeah, I like to pose the same question to Sam really fast. What's your greatest professional accomplishment or something that you're really proud about?
I really get geeked up when I see someone have a plan and a path to get to their goal and reach it. And if I had a small part to play in either speaking on that person's behalf or mentorship or connecting them to someone that could help them, for me, that's the, it's kind of the catnip. You want to see people succeed. And people come to work or come to do the profession because it's there's a drive and a joy in it, and you want people to experience that. I personally hate to see employees dreading coming to work, either because of the culture, or because of their manager, or because of their team, or because of the work they do, or the lack of safety that they have, whether it be physical, professional, or psychological. And so creating safe spaces for individuals to be able to thrive, that's really kind of, something that I find and take great joy in.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Next question. We'll start out with Jovani. This question is for you. If you could just close your eyes and imagine what Black excellence is, what is Black excellence to you?
You know what? it took me years to try to, when I was a kid, being what I went through and all the beat downs that you have, you know, just being African American in general, having faith in yourself, realizing who and what you are. You truly reach Black excellence when you can look in the mirror and realize how beautiful you are. Realize how strong you are. Realize how much you have to give. Realizing how much you have to offer. Realizing that you are a beautiful Black human being. That, to me, is when you reach that Black excellence. And I'm telling you that because when I was, everything I went through, there was a moment in my life where I do remember that one day when I looked in the mirror and I said, "You're a beautiful, handsome man." And I know it's a weird thing to say, but it's something that we all have to do as Black people and people in general. That's just not Black, that's everyone. Once you realize that you are beautiful, then the world will start seeing you as beautiful. But up to that point, I would walk down the street at times and my head would be down and some white man would just, you know, bump me and I would move over. You know, it was like I was everyone's pawn, right? And anybody could do whatever they wanted with me because I didn't have faith in myself, but I didn't see the beauty in myself. And that one day, finally, I was struggling to change the way that I thought of myself. And I remember looking in the mirror and thinking that, and that's what changed the path of my life. That's it.
Jelana, same question for you.
I feel like it's so much the same, but it's knowing that we're a generation that is making our younger generation knowing their greatness without having to first feel inferior, then discover it. Black excellence just coming out of birth, never questioning it, never having to go through that stage feeling inferior, then building yourself up.
Yeah.
So I just, from the get-go, and the same for everybody, just everybody feeling that love, like, and knowing humans came from, you know, it's genetics, we're all from Africa, and everybody feeling that, feeling pride. And this is where humanity started. So.
Sam, finish us up with that same question.
I think Black excellence individually is, for me, the ability to be able to speak truth to power and to find your voice. I think that's one of the toughest things as a person of color is to find your own voice, to be able to say the things that need to be said, but to be able to move forward regardless of what the response is. I think the other piece, at least for me as I think about it, is how do you set a blueprint for the next generation to follow, and to help people to understand what does it take, the mindset, the work ethic, the kindness, the confidence. Those things are just really important. They allow us to be able to navigate the world as our fullest selves. But many times, a lot of our young people don't see that image. Or if they do, they see it more from the virtual space of an artist or an actor or a sports, a ball player of some sort. But, you know, it's the everyday heroes. It's your uncles, your aunts that if you watched and observed, they showed you a blueprint to success. There's a reason why we're still here and still thriving, even amidst all and every efforts to extinguish us off the face of this planet. And so, for me, that's what it's about. We owe it to the next generation to set a blueprint and to be able to help them to navigate and prepare them to navigate what they're about to experience. And I think that's one of the most difficult things about the quote unquote post-racial America is that it used to be that you could see the walls. Now the walls are glass and they move. And so being able to help people to navigate a maze that seemingly isn't a maze, that's the belief behind that I owe to the next generation.
Great answers from all three of our panelists. So what is Black excellence? I couldn't agree more with each one of you. Great answers. This will be our final question for our panel tonight. And then we'll open it up for questions. During the questioning phase, either virtually raise your hand or put your question in the chat, or you can send it personally to Brian or myself, and we'll make sure that we get it posed to our panelists this evening. So for the final question, and Samuel, we'll stick with you. So what's the best piece of advice you could give to someone looking to do what you're doing, or the best lesson you learned and you want to share?
That's a really good question. I would, oddly enough, there's not many people of color and not many women in the work that I do. I don't know why, but for some reason, that's kind of how it's kind of evolved. I would say, I think the best piece of advice is really about having that learning mindset. And understanding that failure is a part of it. When we try to coach and develop people, everyone wants an A on the test, but that's not what learning is about. Learning is about failure and going back and understanding why you failed and adjusting and employing a new approach. It's essentially the scientific method. And so helping people to understand how to employ that thought process and that scientific method to their individual work, but also to how to be able to see gaps in systems. So when we think about care for patients, and how do we address gaps of equity? But people have to be able to see that. They have to have the ability to be able to detect that there's gaps. And then they have to have the resolve to be comfortable with the failure that comes with trying to close those gaps. And so that's, for me, the advice that I've gotten to again, continue to move forward, even in light of failure. Failure is learning, and you want to fail as fast as possible. You want to fail as risk-free as possible, but failure is part of the equation.
Thank you, great answer. And who's next? Jovani, same question we'll pose to you. What's the best piece of advice you could give to someone looking to do what you do, or the best lesson you learned that you'd like to share?
Sorry, I'll mute myself here. It's very simple, very short, in a few words. Hone your craft, and the floodgates will open up. Don't worry about trying. I'm gonna make all these sales and do all this. No. be the best at what you do, and everything else will follow.
Great advice, right? Yeah, that's right. And Jelana, same for you. What's the best piece of advice you could give to someone looking to do what you're doing, or the best lesson you've learned that you'd like to share today?
As a chef in food production business, I would say travel and work with as many different types of food as possible. And then take what you grew up with or what's sacred to you. Because food is sacred to everyone. Mm-hmm. And even if it's something that's very niche and you're like, is anyone even going to like this? If you're passionate about it, one, there's probably others in your community that knows that same dish and miss it. And others will be open to it. And taking all those lessons from different food experience. And when I say travel, yes, money is involved in that. And during a pandemic, it's not the best time, but train with other chefs, train with other people's grandmothers and uncles, and hear their food stories and their food journeys, and take those lessons and apply it to what you want to pursue as a chef.
Awesome. All right, everyone. That is the end of our discussion with our three panelists. If everyone could please give our three panelists a virtual hand clap. And we thank each of you for being here, and all of you for staying here with us today and listening in on this Black Excellence panel discussion. And we are now opening the floor for questions. If you have any questions, please raise your hand or send a message in chat and we'll get it up there. I do have a question in chat to get us started. Will, would you like for me to ask it for you, or do you want to do it yourself? So it's up to you.
It's your show. I'm just happy to be a passenger on the
All right, you go ahead, man. The people want to hear from
you. My question was, what are some of the challenges you face today in business as a Black executive, as a Black business owner, and what are some of the things that you employ in order to overcome those challenges?
Who's supposed to talk first, or?
It's open for everyone. So, but you,
okay. Well, I'll start in that because I had something to refer to that. I was just at the Fancy Food Show in Vegas and just got back, right? And there was this guy who came to our booth, and he kept talking to my colleague, or to the person, who I'm basically her boss, right? Right. This white guy wouldn't make eye contact with me at all, and just kept talking to her over and over and over. And then finally she goes, "Well, he's the cracker king. He's the guy." And he looked at me for a while, said a few words, and I was like ready to choke this guy out. But because it's like, here we go again. You know what I mean? The biggest challenge, my brother, is respect. It's respect. People automatically think if you're a Black man or a Black woman or whatever, they just think that you were just, I don't get it. First of all, they think you're intelligent. So when I go in all the time, when I go into these meetings, I've had to play, and this is at first now, I had to play the dumb card. Okay, all right, yeah, because I would do that because what they would do is that they'd feel comfortable because they think I'm dumb, right? So all of a sudden they spill out all their stuff on the table. Now all the cards, I know them. I got them, right? But that's just by playing dumb. I do that a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, and all of a sudden I'm in control because I got all the information from you. So I know how to work you, because you just think I'm stupid, right? So that respect factor is huge, But now I'm in a position now this is funny. This is what I want to tell you, my brother Will. Things have flipped, right? So now all of a sudden we're a staple here in the Pacific Northwest. People are getting to know us nationally. This is crazy. We had a huge company at the show. I wouldn't even say who they are, wanting to partner. This is crazy what's going on right now, right? But all of a sudden now I'm in the driver's seat. So everything is flipped now. So I don't really have to play dumb anymore. Now I can just be myself and just say, you know what I'm saying? I don't got to sit up here and try to, like, I'm wearing a Wu-Tang shirt. You know what I mean? I'm gonna walk the way I walk. I'm gonna talk the way I talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm me. I'm Black, and I'm proud. And if y'all don't get it, then we no time for business. You know what I'm saying? If I can't be myself around you, most of my life I've been trying to fit into a square box with a bunch of white people trying to have them accept me, and it never worked. I was always known still as a Black man or the nigga on the side. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't work until I started being myself. It's when it started working. So the biggest challenge for me is just the lack of respect. But now I don't have to act. I don't have to act so dumb anymore. Now I can just, because now I'm in a situation where I've got so many sales and so much business that I'm already a player. So now you can't play a player. You know what I mean? They know that now. So I'm in a different position. But the respect, man, the respect, that right there is a. But anyways, that guy at that show, I just, I shoot him off real quick. I said, no, okay, man, but he really upset me. But it's common of what we go through. So sorry. I mean, I hope that answered Will a little bit of how I felt about that. You kind of got me riled up over that.
Jelana or Samuel, did you want to address that question from Will as well, or move to the next one?
We could probably move, for me personally, we probably move to the next one. I think, again, it's, you have to maintain a level of confidence as an executive in white corporate America. It is designed to tear you down.
Oh, yeah.
And I think having that, it's confidence, and to be honest, empathy. There's something powerful about empathy that allows you to be able to show up curious, allows you to be able to show up and create safety for others. But it allows you to appear powerless, but be powerful. And so I think, if you can hone those two things and that balance, I think you're in a great space to be able to navigate successfully.
Jelana, did you want to speak to it as well, or next question?
Just real fast, because sometimes the support you get being African American, there's all these grants and they're great. The funding, it's a loan that we receive to get into a shop. It's through a CDFI, so they require a waiver from a landlord where you do find your shop, to say they have the right to come onto the premise. If I jump ship and default, which I won't, but the properties we're looking at, when I submitted the waiver saying this is required, part of my loan is for you to sign this. And a lot of the landlords that we're presenting it to have never seen this. So even though this loan is to help underrepresented business owners, it also kind of hurts you because you're now this red flag for the property owner. Why do I have to sign a waiver saying your financial institution wants to know they can come onto property and pretty much repossess equipment in case you default on the loan and you can't? So it's this gamble. Like, a lot of people are kind of like scholarships in the 90s, like, oh, you must get a lot of scholarships. And now with this kind of woke movement, they're like, oh, you must be getting grants and loans real quick. You're a Black woman-owned business. They must just be handing you money. Well, I worked hard to get this loan through the SBA. Extremely hard. And now I also have these barriers other people don't have to deal with. And it's only kind of in a way also hurting me that now I have to present this waiver to say, hey, my financial institution's worried that I might not pay and I have to have you sign this waiver.
It's almost like you're presenting food stamps.
Thank you. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm like, I have the money. Here's my bank statement. I am not on a default on this.
You just can't get regular money. You got,
Thank you. And those are the things other people don't have to deal with when they get a loan. you know? And I'm like, really? I really have to give this to the landlord before they even get to know me?
And
So,
that's a red flag for them, because all of a sudden they see the
they're like,
color, and then all of a sudden like, because you know what I'm saying? He's like, well, why are you giving me this for? What, that mean you faulted somewhere else and you're not gonna pay me?
So now they want even more paperwork they didn't want before. But luckily, as usual, as a Black woman, I have to have all those ducks already in a row. So I was already ready for giving them even more financial documents that they didn't ask for before. So,
Wow.
Okay.
Well, just to even make progress, more obstacles are thrown in the way. I think we have a question here. Brad, your hand is up, I see.
I just have more of a comment. This has been really, really enlightening. Especially, I've lived in the Washington County, Hillsborough area my entire life, other than when I was gone for college. And I've always thought of Oregon as not a racist state. And I've gone through school learning the whole history of Oregon. Nothing's ever been said about how the racist background of Oregon is really actually pretty frightening. It's just, this discussion should be in every grade school in the country. I mean, it's eye-opening, the stuff that people have to deal with that they shouldn't have to just because of the color of their skin. But on a positive note, I would say I hope we can do this again, have this be an annual thing. And if we do it, could we please bring samples? That's my request.
Okay, I have another question in chat. Shira, I think it says, how do you build up your confidence, and how do you, I believe that's supposed to be shift. How do you sift through constructive criticism? Is that what was meant there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm on a tablet.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I just wanted to know like how you build up your confidence, with everybody coming at you and breaking down, and then also kind of part of it, how do you take all the criticism and find something that's actually helpful to you?
I think the confidence comes, it's exactly what Jelana and Jovani have spoken to. It is being excellent at your craft. Practice makes perfect. And so honing those skills gives you the confidence to know that you can do the job and you can do it well. I think the constructive criticism part is interesting because sometimes you don't know the intentionality behind the criticism. Is it really designed to help you? Is it designed to move you forward? Or is it designed to actually create doubt? And so I think you have to be mindful of what is said, both good and bad. And try to figure out what's the manageable middle that you can take and be able to build upon.
I wanted to comment on that. Great, Samuel. That was actually really good in regard to I think as far as like he's saying before, look, it's funny what confidence can do. And we've all heard singers that are really not that good as singers, and they just think they're the best singer in the world, and they elevate, and all of a sudden they're number one of the charts, and you're thinking, how in the world could this fool be number one and whatever? But when you talk to them, they have that swagger, and they just know they're the best, right? Even though they're not the best, but in their head they truly think they are. Right? So honing your craft is to the best of your ability is the number one thing you can do in order to come to Shira, in order to combat that issue. Once you know that your stuff is good, and nobody can outshine you, and you're good, once you know that you are, your product or whatever your service or product is amazing, and you've worked really hard to get it there, no matter what anyone says, you will. It's easier to decipher from the good criticism to the bad criticism, because all of a sudden you know your product, your service, and you have full confidence in it. So it's easier to look at a comment and be able to say, oh, okay, this is good for me, and this is not good for me. and it doesn't break you all the way down because you are already positive. If you're not strong within your belief, within your business, someone can say anything and all of a sudden you get broken down, oh God, you feel like you don't, all of a sudden you're broken down. But if you have confidence in it, you look at that comment and you think about it and you take the good out of it and you use it to your power. Does that make sense, people? Shira, I don't know if did that make sense to you, Shira? I hope it did. I was trying to have it make sense.
Yes, thank you so much.
Shira,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jelana, go ahead.
Shira, thank you for that great question. A lot of my confidence is, and it's tough, it's a little bit of Samuel's industry and influence of seeing us on the board. So I'll be honest, getting therapy, keeping up on my mental health and physical health. Two is also my children that need to know that I'm being an example for him, both of our sons. In fact, a member of the Black Village, it's the PAC, or Parent Advisory Committee for the Hillsborough School District. And knowing that I keep confidence, knowing that I can change other lives, influence other Black children, all children. And that's the thing, when you have that influence on the next generation, like especially even children that aren't Black, knowing that you can change their image of how they see Black Americans, Black people in general. And like, that's just normal. I commend children that were born now. They know that it's possible to have a Black president. In fact, just a shout out to everybody there. If you want to get involved in the Black Family Village, there's a meeting next week at 7 p.m. Look on the Hillsborough School District for the link to go. And it's important because I like Brad's statement. Grew up here thinking everything was kosher, and it still isn't for a lot of children. And you need to hear their stories and know that there's still a lot of work. Yes, it's so much better, but there's still a lot of work. There's still issues our children are dealing with in the school district, at school. And I know that keeps my confidence up, like knowing I literally can't give up for them. So I got to keep my mental health strong and my physical health. And because I know it's an impact on our community and our children. So thank you, Shira, for that great comment or question.
Great, thank you. And I don't see any further questions, and we are nearing our end time. So before we close, what a great program that we had today. Thank you so much to our panel members for participating and giving us the opportunity to get to know you better. Your struggle, your accomplishments, the obstacles that you faced, all of that helps to inspire the next generation of entrepreneur or business leader or executive or any of that. And we all need to see people like us in these roles, in this position, that's making a difference within our own respective communities. Before closing, I'd like to share some information with everyone. I'd like to highlight what the Washington County Chamber of Commerce Black Advisory Business Council has done so far to celebrate Black History Month. We have and will continue to highlight Black leaders and business owners every Monday and Friday through the remainder of February. So follow the council on our social media, and here I'll drop the link to the Black Advisory Business Council's Facebook page. Please make sure to go to like and follow, especially if you're not on our email list. You'll see the updates, events like this. You'll get notified about that as well. We brought to you this month, not just highlighting the business leaders and owners. We had a musical jam session inspired by the NPR Tiny Desk series that's been posted to our various social media networks and the Chambers network. And I'd like to thank personally Brian for helping to bring that idea to life. new blood in the chamber. He brought in this new idea that he felt would resonate for Black History Month. So thank you, Brian, for making that possible. And yeah, actually doing everything to make that possible and make it happen. So great job on that. And I hope all of you are enjoying those videos as well. And what else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And what else we've done for Black History Month, this special panel to help inspire, motivate, or answer questions for those of you that have been thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. What does it look like, this journey? Someone that may look like you or maybe not, male, female, Black, white, doesn't matter, but there are still common ground that we all go through before we can even become successful in business. Moving forward, for the month of March, we will be highlighting women business owners, professionals, and leaders for Women's History Month. So we will have a special panel on March 30th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. featuring some of these great community and business leaders. So kind of pencil that in on your calendar, follow us so we can get the information out to you as well online. What else do we have here? And if you'd like to participate in, join, or assist the Black Advisory Business Council, please feel free to reach out to Brian or myself. And Brian, if you can, if you have it right now, can you go ahead and put your contact info in the chat? He does work for the chamber, so it's great if you reach out to him. It'll get to me as well, or anyone on the Black Advisory Business Council. And we'd be happy to assist you. We'd be happy for some of you to potentially join us in the work that we're doing. And as a final piece, I would love if you all took time to fill out a 2-minute survey, just your feedback and topic suggestions that we can present to the community. We love your feedback. We need your input so that we can bring relevant information out to the community as well. And with that, that is the end of our Black Excellence panel discussion. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in March.
Beautiful. Jelena, reach out to me. I'm going to try your bakery. I'm going to come. I'm coming. I'm coming by. I'm letting you know.
Thank you. Thank you. We buy your crackers all the time.
Do you really?
Yes, rosemary and the cheddar. I have to.
We're doing the Parmesan and herb too now.
Oh man.
See? And we got a sea salt. So, but I'm coming by. So you got my information, right?
Yeah.
All right, holla at her, brother. I'm coming by. I'm gonna get some sweet potato pie or something. God dang. All right, gotta hit me up.
Bring your crackers, bring some wine.
Yes.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And Samuel, it was great meeting you. Thank you for being here, and everyone else. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.